I'm feeling absolutely exhausted, exhilarated, tired, numb, but also incredibly happy and thrilled and optimistic about photography and beyond photography, that the idea of stories are still important and that there's so many people out there who want to tell stories and are finding their voice to tell a story. That to me makes all this exhaustion and physical exertion well worth the time. Blue Sky Days, I love that project. To me, it's such a smart, sophisticated, incredibly powerful project. And I love the idea behind it. I love the execution behind it. But again, more importantly, Thomas had an idea of how he wanted to communicate another social issue. And that, for me, was sort of becoming a consistent theme is you've got a million stories in the world, a billion stories, 7 billion stories in the world. But how do we take these stories out of space and then turn them into these tangible objects that you and I can sort of begin to understand and begin to look at our own selves and our own lives? And that to me is what makes a successful project. And this one, for me, when you first look at it, it's graphically interesting, it's aesthetically interesting. But when you start going deeper into the project, it's a really sophisticated way of looking at an unphotographable space, essentially. This idea of drone strikes, extrajudicial justice, and it's a huge issue in America right now. It's a huge issue globally, the idea of surveillance and the idea that how does the electronic space infect our own lives? And, you know, you look in the photographs, and one of my favorite ones in that series, from above, it looks like Muslims praying, which is probably what a Reaper drone was seeing in Nevada when they were doing their drone strikes. But if you look carefully and you go into that photograph, it's actually people doing yoga. So this complete sort of psychological dissonance between what it is that you're experiencing and what it is that the photograph is trying to communicate to you. It's grabbed me by my shirt and it stopped me, and it really started asking me questions about what is it, who are we as a human, where are you, what are you trying to do, and how are we going to go forward with this? The Aerotrain wedding photo to me is super interesting because when I first saw it, there was just a sharpness and the color and the saturation in there I really liked. And I thought, oh, somebody's shooting on a medium format film camera. And other than that, technically, then it sort of moved beyond me. But there was just something really beautiful and simple and luscious in that picture. Again, with the light and the color of the clouds and the building in the background and the dynamism of the people moving up and down the stairs. I just simply loved it, just as a great image. Sometimes you've just got to like good images, and that's one of them. And then when we were told at the end of the judging, when we placed everything and the names were revealed, it turned out that that was actually taken on an iPhone. And I said, no, absolutely not. No way is that an iPhone photo, just because the quality was astounding. And I think it's great that not once was it ever brought up. And even if it was brought up, nobody cared. And that's great right now. So you can shoot on film, you can shoot on Holga, you can shoot on a digital, large format, medium format, an iPhone. It doesn't matter. Just take a great image. Behind the Window Blind was one of the more that sat in my brain every single night for 10 nights, because I was on the first round jury and into the second round jury. And after seeing so many images, some of them just sleep with you. And this is one of the series that slept with me. And I don't know what it was. In the first round, we all sort of looked at it and thought, okay, let's move it on. Second round, this is getting even more interesting. Let's move it on. And what happens a lot of the time in the rounds is you just move something on just in case. And upon subsequent viewing, sometimes you realize, okay, this photographic life is really expired. But that one, it actually started gaining, gaining, gaining. And frankly, it did cause, it kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't really think that it would have such traction. And then when the second round jury came in, that was one of the more unanimous stories that went through immediately, almost without discussion, move it forward. And I think that's a real testament to the photographer who sort of has stumbled on, again, an incredibly simple idea, but really well executed, simply executed. Another thing that was great about this series was that it was only 4 photographs that the photographer submitted. It was tightly edited, perfectly edited. A lot of the times when we were looking at the images, you would see pictures 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, astounding. 5, you would say, please hold up. 6, start to die. And then 7, 8, 9, 10, you think this is a completely different story, a completely different photographer. But that photographer was smart. He knew exactly what his story was. He knew how he wanted to say it, and he went out and executed it absolutely perfectly. I'm so happy that that story ended up getting a third place.